Hi, you're listening to Cassandra
and Jennifer with Authentically Woo Woo,
where we talk about spirituality, cosmos, balance, and living authentically.
On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Halloween and all of the wonderful holidays and harvests that go along with it.
And I'm going to be talking about absolutely knowing nothing about what she is talking about because I grew up in a home where I was sheltered and protected from the demonic influences of the Devil's Day. You're not supposed to laugh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is very serious.
Very serious.
She's not taking me seriously.
No, I'm not. So in the fall, we notice a shift. There's this whole shift that we can see even on a very naturalistic level. So everything is starting to die off. Things are changing. Things are crumpling and like the trees are leaving. Are leaving. They're leaving. The trees are leaving.
They've had enough. They're out. Peace. Sorry.
They're losing all their leaves. And so it's just like this creating space. And so in the cycle of life type thing, and a very tarot point of view, I should have rubber baby buggy bumpered a little bit more. A very tarot point of view, things are ending. So it's like the death card. Things are ending so that they can be reborn. Because after fall, we have winter, which is like that period of rest or death. And then spring comes to rebirth. So within that cycle, Halloween is that midpoint between the beginning of the autumn equinox and then the winter solstice. So, during this time, they call it in the spiritual world of the thinning of the veil. And so what is this veil? This veil is...
why don't you tell us?
I will. So this veil is sort of kind of like the thin veil that separates the two worlds. And the two worlds are our humanoid world, and then on the other side is what is known in many cultures and the Gallic culture of the other world. And so in this other world you have I believe it's like the spiritual world. I think it's their kind of commonly accepted, where it's people that have passed on, our loved ones, or, spirits such as like angels and all of this. So it's just like the other realm.
Only angels and devils.
Okay.
Yeah. No ghosts,
in between.
Spirits, no in between. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
It's not allowed.
Okay. So, and in the spiritual belief, this is like this veil certain times of a year, and especially for during this time, during this point between the harvest, the autumn equinox and the spring and the winter solstice, we notice a point of shift. So not only are we noticing it throughout like the natural world of everything dying, but within ourselves. This is a time of like very vivid dreams. I don't know about you, but the dreams have been like insane lately.
I'm just craving apple pie a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's just really good marketing. Oh, fun fact. Okay, so apples, into the harvest season, remind me, I'll just say it right now real fast. Okay, so apples are actually a Roman, back from when the Romans actually invaded Ireland, Scotland, like Britain area of back then. So we're talking about, of course, during the ancient times. They had two festivals that were along the same time as the
Halloween-ish.
Yeah. So those original Gaelic festivities of the autumn harvest and everything. And so anyways, apples were an offering to the Roman goddess, and I forget which goddess it was. Oh, I'm sorry, but I know it started with a P. Huh. But anyway, so that's like, we're like bobbing for apples and stuff like that. Like, that is a little bit of a Roman from whenever they invaded and took over. So, okay. So back to the veil. Back to the veil, we're starting to have like really vivid dreams. So if you are an empath, like, your emotions are typically heightened anyways, but during this time they're going to be even more heightened, and it's sort of kind of, you're wearing like your emotions on your sleeves, and and I know for a fact that it has been like, I've had to really go, oh my gosh, like, are these my emotions that I'm feeling, and if so, like why? And I've had to really take a step back and analyze my emotions because they've been so big lately. Another thing that we notice with the thinning of the veil is that it's easier. So it takes a lot of energy for spirits to sort of kind of come to us. And it's like within any time of the year, it takes a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. And during this time when the veil is thinner, it's a chance for some of our other ancestors and spirits to cross over easier. And so if you're dreaming of like someone that you lost, and they're coming to you in dreams, like, just don't discredit that, because that's, them coming to you, because right now is an easier time, and one of the easier ways for spirits to contact and connect with us are through dreams, versus like manifesting in front of someone as like an apparition. Like, that takes a whole lot of energy. So during this time, what can we do? So we have those three things, right? So like, it's easier for the spirits and ancestors and everything to come and go. Dreams are really vivid and emotions are heightened during the thinning of the veil. So things that we can do to sort of kind of help with this are to set boundaries, especially when you're creative. So when you're creative, you are...
That is so funny. Can I add to that?
Yeah, please do.
So do you know, in astrology, Scorpio, we've talked about Sirius Joy, so Scorpio represents boundaries.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's Scorpio season is what we just entered into.
Yeah.
And basically, it's boundaries.
So it's amazing how all of this, I mean, we're talking about, I know with a few of these festivals that we're going to be talking about, like, they go back thousands of years, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years, and it's like astrology ties into that.
Oh, yeah.
Too. Yeah. And so it's just, and it's so fascinating.
Just slightly.
So, so like during this time, creatives are thought to be like really connected to spirit because of that, so kind of like that muse of getting creative ideas from source, right? From God. And
also Scorpio is deep. Like, Scorpio's just not surface. So it's like with some of this stuff being, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emotions
more than just your surface level day to day, like a little deeper.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and because like our moon episode last week, we talked about how, that harvest cycle, or the harvest cycle, that full moon cycle, the moon cycle period, about how it's all about like starting from a seed, becoming a plant, and that plant dies, and so we're in that ending death cycle with our year, with that wheel. And so it's kind of that same concept of, okay, what's no longer working for us?
Right.
We're reaping all of the harvest from the things that we have put forth and have, set to seed. what are we getting from those fruits of our labor per se? And then what can we do next harvest? Hopefully apple pie. Yes, absolutely. So boundaries. So whenever we are becoming this introspective, this deep Scorpio, in deep Scorpio season, that introspective of, okay, what boundaries do I need to set? Not only but also on a spiritual aspect, like actual spirituals of spirits coming through, setting boundaries of, like, if you are sensitive and you say you're having really vivid dreams or whatever, like, you can start gonna say, like, okay, like, I really do need to, like, sleep, like, deep and get my rest, like, I'm open from these hours, and then after that, like, I need my rest.
I wish I would have known that earlier with my grandfather, because we've had that conversation ever since, like, I was young. I had, like, you talked about, what was it, apparitions. Okay, so yeah, it was like visually seeing, and that was just like, it's so often I didn't understand it. I didn't feel, I don't want to say I didn't feel scared from it. It didn't feel good or bad. It was kind of like, oh, there's something there I'm not used, that sort of feeling. And that, it became just like, oh gosh, okay, I'm going to go through this, because it was that regularly. But once I figured out, and it was him, once I was able to visually see more and more, until I got a face and stumbled on a picture, I was like, oh my gosh, that's my grandfather, because he passed away before, I think I told you, he passed away before, I think I was like 2 or something when he passed away. So I didn't, know what he looked like. So, but yeah, I was like, man, I wish I would have known that earlier.
Setting your
like,
hours.
All right, Grandpa, if I would have known. I'd be like, can you not not tonight?
I'm really tired, Grandpa. Just let me sleep. What about my hours are? You know what? They're from like 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's perfect.
But he backed off. Once I realized it was him, he backed off, and now he shows up more, periodically, not so constantly in my face.
Yeah, literally.
But that would have been a helpful tool to have business hours.
Yes, exactly. So setting those hours, setting those boundaries. So not only spiritually, but also, like, literally and in our world too. So this is like a point for us to reflect. Now's also a great opportunity to have a dream journal, and this is like, honest moment, I suck at keeping a dream journal. I suck at keeping a journal of any. I suck at taking notes. I suck at anything that puts paper and pen. Yeah. No. I love writing. Like,
I know you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like, and I feel like if I lived by myself, like, a dream journal would be so much easier, because then I'm not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, turning on my light, going, oh, I've got to write this down. And then, Adam rolling over, like, what the hell are you doing? And so, but a dream journal is, so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll wake up and I'll be like, remember that apple pie,
I never do.
The fairy, and this, and I'm like, I repeat it to myself like multiple times, and I go to write it down. Sometimes
I don't do good at that.
No.
I've tried that a couple times.
Yeah, no, you need to write it down right when it's fresh. And so this is to kind of do as I say, not as I do thing. But no, dream journals are, and I'm really going to try to be better about that, because I know that my dreams have been insane vivid lately. So, okay. So all of this being said, all these things that we're noticing, our ancestors noticed it too. And so whenever things change, there's these festivals, and there are these holidays that are then created around them, and that we still celebrate today, aka Halloween. Which Halloween was always huge in my family. And
it's like July hits and you're pulling your decorations out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever.
I'm already planning at that point. Yeah.
I've never, ever, like, never. Like, I'd say, but then again, I think my inspiration comes from colors. So it's like, I guess, I'm more of like a Valentine's.
Yeah.
Christmas.
I like Christmas.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day. Meh.
Yeah. It's like a lot of work to decorate just to like take it down.
It is.
I'm like, Christmas, I could put it up and be like, okay, this is at least staying here from Thanksgiving to like New Year's. You know, when we had a fake tree, it'd stay up till July. But no, I know for you, like, I feel like your equivalent of my Christmas is Halloween.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Christmas too. Like the Christmas season. I love that. But Halloween
Decorating
was always, Halloween was huge. Mm-hmm. So, Halloween comes from All Hallows Eve, which is literally translated to All Saints Eve. So, Hallows is...
Wait, what? Saints?
Saints. Mm-hmm.
As in saints?
Yeah.
As in like saints of the devil?
Yeah. So, in Catholicism, saints are Saint Michael, the Archangel.
Okay.
But then you have, oh my gosh, you have like so many saints. But that's one that I know that you know.
Yeah. Saint Germain. I know Saint Germain.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm shaking the table.
No, you're fine. So, like, oh my gosh, there's Saint Christopher, there's Saint Anthony, there's Saint Germain, there's literally hundreds, if not more than that. So, Hallows means saints. So, All Hallows Eve, and then that has turned
I'm like having my hard time wrapping my mind around that. Like, I seriously don't. Yeah, so it's that's what it. That's you're
what it means.
Saying that's what it means.
Yeah. So Halloween means All Saints.
So
Eve.
I could ask the Google.
You could ask the Google.
I could ask the Google.
Ask the Google.
Wow.
So,
okay.
So All Saints Day is November 1st. Okay. So the eve of it, of course, would be October 31st.
Okay.
So this like holiday, All Hallows Eve, there's an old English word, and God bless you. And I wasn't startled that time.
Yay!
There's another, and I was wondering if I wrote it down, but I didn't.
Sorry, I keep distracting you by being like, what? You're telling me that the word saint is associated with Halloween? That surely can't be right.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, it is. And so All Hallows Eve is actually an even more modern term of an old English word. And so then it just kind of turned into Halloween. And it's just that transformation. That's not exactly the word that I'm looking for, though. But
transition?
Yeah.
No. Morphing
would be,
it
morphed into Halloween.
Okay.
And so Halloween in America predominantly comes from Irish immigrants. So Irish, Scottish,
didn't know that either.
British. And so it's the mixture of Gaelic festival Samhain and the Catholic All Saints Eve or All Saints Day. So you gotta think, like, whenever...
Because Catholics believe in, like, purgatory and stuff like that, right? Where Christians don't believe in that stuff. They're like, heaven or hell, there's no,
some Christians do.
Not my grow-up Christians.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some Christians do.
Okay.
And like Catholicism.
Holy Spirit we believed in was like the Holy
Holy
Ghost. Holy. That's the only ghost that growing up, that was the only ghost.
So Christians are divided into two groups. You have the Catholics and the Protestants, which of course were even at war in Ireland, like last century, like the end of last century. And so then the Protestants are then divided into a whole bunch of other different
denominations.
Yes, and so each one sort of kind of believes like a different thing.
So then, like, if you're talking like Catholics, Assembly of God, Methodists, that's coming more from
Catholics is like its own little self. Protestants would be
like Greek Orthodox. Would that be closer to the Catholic side? Sorry.
No. Like, no. So Greek Orthodox, I am somewhat familiar with that. It is its own thing. Like it is definitely its own thing. It does have similar rituals.
Okay.
And as Catholics, and it's again one of those really like a lot older Christian religions.
Yeah.
Comparative to, Catholicism. But then, like, some of your Protestants, like...
So the Protestant side would probably be more sides apt to believe there's the heaven and hell and not the...
Not the purgatory? I think it's, like, I want to say...
Some of them might even.
I know for a fact some of them do believe in purgatory. And so
I just had special.
I
just had a special setup there.
And there are within the Protestants, you then have you have Lutheran, you have Baptist, you have Methodist. Martin Luther was actually he broke off from the Catholic Church and created the Protestants with the Lutheran Church.
Okay.
99.9% sure that is all factual.
Okay.
And then from there, you get the more the breakoffs and everything like that. What was it? King Henry VIII, the crazy King Henry VIII, he actually broke off from the Catholic Church and created the Anglican Church, so that he could divorce Queen.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was interesting.
Catherine, right?
Yeah.
Queen Catherine.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that he could marry the Boleyn girl.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. Yeah, once again, don't quote me on that. But
was it?
Yeah.
Whoever's like really good at history and names are going to listen to this. And
would
be
your
like,
brother know?
I would hate to put him on the spot. He may.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sure
you get the point.
You get the point.
Basically, he was married. He didn't want to be anymore. So he's like, I don't believe in this religion setup.
Create a new one for me.
God is calling me towards this direction. But not because I want to marry someone else.
No. So, all of that to say, All Hallows Eve. All right. So in order to understand Halloween, one must really truly know about Samhain, and Samhain is spelled Samhain, and so it's a Gaelic word, and also I learned that if you're from Ireland, it's pronounced Gaelic, and if you're from England, the English pronunciation is Gaelic, and then the Scottish, I'm not even going to attempt it because I will just butcher it. But because I'm always like, is it Gaelic? And so if I interchangeably say it, I'm sorry. But it means the same thing. And so Samhain is a pagan religious festival originating from the ancient Celtic spiritual tradition. So nowadays, it's a festival that is celebrated on Halloween and into November 1st. And it was a festival that was created to celebrate like the fall harvest and to bring in the dark side of the year, because it's starting to get darker earlier. Mm-hmm. And so it was just sort of kind of like, again, where our ancestors, and this ancient, but
I just pictured Darth Vader. Sorry, I just spent the day with my brother, and I'm trying to get over this visual of like Vader entering the room.
Yeah, so it's the dark half of the year. So things are dying off. Things are becoming darker. It's a very introspective time of year. Mm-hmm. So, and it's one of the most important fire ceremonies, and the halfway, like I said before, the halfway mark between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. So, in the pagan religion, they had 4 major fire ceremonies, and with Samhain, it was the day of Samhain, they would let the fires in their homes, so in their hearths. I know it's spelled hearth, but I never know how to pronounce that. So the fire in their home, they actually let that die out. Mm-hmm. And then everyone in the village is to attend this festival. And it's like, if you don't attend, like, you're in serious trouble. And so everyone, their fires go out in their homes, and they go to the center of their village or the meeting spot, and they have this huge bonfire. And at this bonfire, it's actually not a bonfire yet. So everyone's around, and it's this whole ceremony of where they have this big wheel, and they spin the wheel, and it creates these sparks, and it represents the sun. And it's the sun that then creates this big bonfire. And there's sacrifice of, like, the cattle and everything to their gods, and also to appease the fae. So in traditional Gaelic tradition, that veil is thin. Mm-hmm. So they believe the veil is thin. Well, that means that the fae can easily come over, and they're very tricky, and they're tricksters. And not only are they tricksters, they like to kidnap them and take them back to the other world. And so
that's not scary.
No. But I mean, right? Like, most things from, like, way back are pretty intense.
I wonder, like, at what point it turned to that too. You know, we talked about how, like, things like, you know, more, you know, the mm-hmm. king, for example, would be like, your kid's not behaving that day, be like, that freaking fae is going to take you.
Oh, absolutely. Jimmy, you want to be a little shit? Well, you know what? The fae's going to come over, and they're just going to kidnap you and take you to the other world.
And then we have Halloween. So on next week's episode, no.
So
I understand now. So it's somebody's mom, you know, told somebody's kid, and it was just, and then they're gonna come take them, and the son had the fire. Mm-hmm. I don't see why it's so complicated.
Yeah, no, it's not. So around this fire, they would tell stories. They would tell monster stories about like, you know, remember the time when little Timmy and Jimmy were being little, and
I don't understand what's
I don't know. So actually, no, there are stories that they would tell about. They had certain heroes, and of course that would overcome the evil and everything. And so they would tell these stories around the big bonfire. And like I said, this was a huge festival that everyone had to attend. And then, you know, as the ages progressed, you know, the king and the chieftains would be the head of these ceremonies, because it started with the druid priest would start the ceremony. And then, like, if you didn't attend and represent your family, like, it was punishable by death. And,
what?
Oh, yeah. So, like, you had to attend. And,
I am so excited to hear about this.
Yes.
It's exciting.
It is.
I'm excited to hear more.
Good.
But maybe.
We'll attend and hear more after this break.
Welcome to the DW World History Series. I'm your host, David Wainwright, and I'll be taking you through 3,000 years of Egyptian history, beginning with King Narmer and ending with the last native Egyptian ruler, Nectanebo II, in 343 BC. If you follow our video series, you experience one of the most detailed presentations on this great civilization. A podcast series is available for download at dwworldhistory.com. Here you will also find detailed outlines for each episode, with additional resource material, maps, and bibliographies. Please remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And now, join us as we take you through the world of history.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about Samhain and the bonfire, and then whenever it went on, later down the years, and the chieftains, it wasn't just the druid priests, then became the chieftains and the kings and whatnot, and you had to attend. So they would sit around and talk and tell these like great heroic stories of Sir kind of good defeating evil, and these stories of like the Fae being tricksters and taking people and all of this is just just a real quick condensed version. So then after the ceremony, so this would last for in ancient tradition it would last for 3 days, and in modern tradition it lasts from October 31st to November 1st. And then at the end of it, they would then take fire from the bonfire, and then they would go and relight the hearth fire at their house.
Okay.
And then that would continue on.
Yeah. Which has got to be a lot of symbolic,
yes,
symbolism there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So another thing that was a part of the ancient Samhain traditions were dumb suppers, which I actually researched this a little bit because I had heard of it, but I didn't really know all about it. So dumb suppers are when it's very, very similar to the Dia de los Muertos, of where like having your ancestors come for dinner.
Okay.
And so with this, the dumb supper was all about inviting your ancestors and having this feast, but allowing them to eat first and inviting them over to eat with you. And so doors and windows were left open during this time. And so this happened, the same time as well.
They must not have believed in the same Casper ghosts that could like go through the walls.
No. Yeah. They believe it's kind of like vampires, like you had to be welcomed
Invite them in.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And then and where we get our trick-or-treating, it was said that where we get our trick-or-treating,
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
No. Where we get our trick-or-treating from are from the Murmurs plays. Okay. And so the Murmurs plays, where these people would dress up as, so kind of like that monster and hero, and go door to door and present these little plays real fast. And then as their reward or their payment, they would receive cakes. So kind of that.
That sounds good. I mean, I would definitely take cake over chocolate. We need to go back to that.
Yes.
I might participate. I might turn over to the dark side.
The dark side.
And participate if I can dress up as an angel and be given cake.
Yes. Yes.
I'm being sarcastic. My son calls it sarcastic. Sarcastic. Well, now he says it right, but I still like to call it sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic.
That's cute.
But the ideal of cakes instead of chocolate sounds pretty awesome.
Oh, I don't know. I like chocolate.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry.
So no. So the Rivers plays. Now, around the traditional Samhain, they would also dress up to confuse the Fae not to take them and kidnap them. So, and then, where we get the trick or treat.
Yeah.
So the treat obviously was, you came dressed in a costume, good for you, so here's your treat. The trick were, people being tricksters, right? Mm-hmm. But they would blame them on fairies and the Fae.
That sounds fun. I'd like
and
to
so
blame some things on fairies.
yes.
Yeah.
So these were traditions that were, passed down and morphed into Halloween. So then when the Irish and Scottish settlers came to America, they're Irish predominantly Catholic, right? And so when they came over with All Saints Day, All Saints Eve, with a combination of their traditional Gaelic traditions and festivities, when they came over to America and North America and settled, it's kind of morphed into what we have today as our Halloween, of kids dressing up, going door to door, receiving their treats, and that whole trick or treat thing. So, okay, this leads into All Saints Day and All Souls Day.
Okay.
And again, you're seeing. So this is. I don't want to say it's just predominantly Catholic. I know that it is very much a Catholic thing, but I think that it may be in some Christian.
Not that I knew of.
Well, yeah. As well, I'm pretty.
We just had Harvest Festival. That was all that was allowed. Like, you could go to the church and have a Harvest Festival.
Okay.
Which is where you could dress up as, like, something not scary. And they had games and would give you candy. And there was no, like...
Okay.
It was very... I hate to say superficial, but there was no... It was just like, yeah, this is what we're doing because we're better than everybody else who celebrates the devil. So...
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, now we're still kind of turning again, so Ireland, Scotland, and England, they had the, the Catholics, like I was saying, until King Henry VIII, was Catholic. And then it was Catholic again, and then not Catholic, and then it's, so it goes back and forth in the later years, but in the very beginning. And so you have these Celtic tribes that are, in Ireland and Scotland. And so, but then you have their kind of like Roman Catholic invasion and this Christian takeover, more or less. And now I've read several articles of where they say, no, Christians didn't take over, blah blah blah. Like, they're two separate. Like, I don't know. There's a fight for either side. From what I've always learned and from what I've read and the research, that makes sense to me, because you can literally see, okay, well, in 500 AD, 500 something AD, Pope Boniface the Fourth, he actually made so the pagan festival of Samhain, he was like, oh, well, we're gonna call it All Saints Day, and All Martyrs Day, All Martyrs Day, and we're going to celebrate it on May 13th. 6 months after your pagan, festival, whatever. Well, then Pope Gregory the Third came around in 800 something AD and was like, oh, you know what? We're going to change that, and we're going to become more inclusive. So not only is it going to be martyrs, but it's also going to be saints. So martyrs and saints, and we're going to change that from May 13th and put it back on November 1st. And with that...
So the popes were arguing about what day is... Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And, but I mean, 300 years difference, but yes. And so he moved it, Pope Gregory III moved it back to November 1st, and that was the All Saints Day celebration, or known as All Hallows Day, which Hallows, again, means saint, and saint that now encompasses saints and martyrs. So the All Hallows Eve, the night before, of course, stayed the same. And so those traditional Celtic families would celebrate then both, which is sort of kind of why hundreds plus years later, we have I know growing up, we would have Halloween, and then we had All Saints Day. And then November 2nd is All Souls Day. So if your soul isn't quite a martyr or a saint, don't worry, you still get celebrated on November 2nd. So
is it 2nd?
Yeah, so it's November 2nd.
Wow.
So
my gosh.
which then brings me to, and I'm always so afraid to say this because I don't want to butcher it, but Dia de los Muertos, and that honors the dead. And so this is your Latin America celebration of their loved ones. So with this, we're still kind of combining the two cultures again, where you see that Roman Catholic take over, and it then creates this new sort of kind of, or it tweaks it a little bit, celebration, holiday, festival, whatever you want to call it. So in Latin America, you had, it was a day of the dead celebration that was back from the ancient Aztecs and the Mayans and all of those other tribes within Latin America. Well, so they had their own celebration, but then when the conquistadors came over, they were from Spain, and so they of course were Catholic, and they brought Catholicism into it. It sort of kind of morphed to where you saw this whole new festival holiday come forth. And so
so just so I understand, so with that, so you're saying that the Spain, they were Catholic, so they came in being Catholic,
yes,
and this is part of what comes out of that.
Yes. So so Latin America is just like every culture. Surprisingly, enough, they all have a some sort of festival or holiday that celebrates their dead, and across the board,
which seems like it shouldn't be
all that crazy. And so
I'm just processing.
Oh, yeah.
Everything you're saying.
No, that's so okay. So Latin America had all of it was, it's different, certain kind of different I don't know if that's the exact word, but certain different holidays that different ways that they would celebrate their holiday. But it was all, again, around this time of year. And it goes back to, the Mayans with their calendar and how, again, that whole cycle of birth and growth and death and rebirth. And so that whole thing, they would see this time of year. And so what's also interesting is that between the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, these holidays are completely different, and they're at different times of the year. So with the North America, with us being in the northern hemisphere, we're seeing, this whole death transition within our seasons during October, November. And so that's why these are being celebrated. So you had the Mayans and the Aztecs, and they had their own festivals or their own celebration for their ancestors and whatnot. And then you had the conquistadors that came over, and they were like, no. This is how you're going to do this now. And so then it just sort of kind of encompassed both of them, and it became the Dia de los Muertos. And so how it's celebrated today it's really quite amazing, right? It's the Day of the Dead, and it is So their belief is that the dead would be like really insulted if like you were mourning and really sad about them. And so they want to be celebrated. So it's celebrated with music, with bright colors, and with food. And so it goes back to sort of kind of how like the Celtic traditions of the dumb supper, of we're inviting them to dinner. So with this, so they have families will create an ofrenda, which is like an altar within their homes, and they have it decorated with pictures of their loved ones and with offerings to their loved ones. And I know marigolds are another, like marigold, the flower is like a huge part of this holiday as well. You'll also see the calaveras, which are the skulls, and the calacas, which are the skeletons. And so I'm reading my notes here because I don't want to miss anything. So they celebrate the life of the deceased ones with food and drink and parties and activities. And then if you go even deeper, even like further back, there's a whole story per se of like how the soul, in order to reach like the highest resting place per se, the soul after its physical meat suit death, the soul then has, I think it's either 7 or 9 like test journeys that it has to go through. And so that's where like the food is offered, because they need their food for the strength in order to do all of these things to achieve that highest resting place. And so it's really like I really like that concept and everything. So it's this whole day about celebrating their loved ones, and that is the day that their loved ones can cross over, because why? The veil is thin. And so again, this is another culture, another part of the world that recognizes that this veil is thin and that their loved ones can come to them easier. And so since they can come to them easier, they're going to celebrate them. And it's like their one chance to tell stories to them and about them. And then like the kids will play games and so kind of to like honor them. And so another fun fact so when we think of it today, we think of the sugar skulls. That's actually sort of, you know what I'm talking about, of like where the skulls that are decorated with like the beautiful flowers and like the makeup, like the real intricate makeup and everything. So that is sort of kind of a newer concept to the Day of the Dead. And that is from an artist in the early 1900s. He was known as Jose Guadalupe Posada. And so he was this famous cartoonist, and his cartoons were skeletons. And he sort of kind of like, it started out as like mocking politicians and whatnot. So those early 20th century cartoons, like political cartoons, his Jose's were, you know, skeletons. And so he did one in 1910 that was called La Calavera Katrina. And this one was a female skeleton adorned with makeup and dressed in fancy clothes. And it was sort of kind of how it was intended as a statement about Mexicans adopting European fashions. But then it became this, and instead of their own like heritage and traditions and fashions. And so the skeleton Katrina was then adopted as one of the most recognizable Day of the Dead like figures. And so that's why you have like the sugar skulls that are all decked out with like the makeup. And so it's I mean, like I said, it's only 100 and so years that has played a part of it. But then whenever I think of it, you know, I always think of all of the beautiful dresses, of those, you know, traditional Mexican dresses, and like all of the flowers and the makeup. And so it's really fascinating. But, and about that, so they actually have, whereas the Catholic faith, you know, has All Saints Day and then All Souls Day. Well, in Latin America, it was for the Dia de los Muertos, they had November 1st was like the Day of the Innocents. And so that was like the day to sort of kind of celebrate the day of the innocent, the children. And then November 2nd was all about celebrating the day of all the souls. And so again, it's sort of kind of like that reflection of the Catholic faith of All Saints Day and All Souls Day. So, yeah. So what did you do for Halloween growing up? Now that I've unloaded all of these fun facts.
Okay. So I mean, I honestly am processing a lot of this, because I mean, I know you know this, but like,
Yeah.
I don't, this is the first time I'm hearing a lot of this, like, except for the Day
Of the Dead.
The Day of the Dead. I know as of recently from the movie Coco. I watched that. And, but like all the other, so, is it, all right, I'm going to be
Okay.
transparent, you know, so might be a little sticky. So it's like when you're talking and I'm listening to your thing, I think one thing that I got most out of it is I'm really surprised the religious roots from the get-go of it. And I think that's the part I'm having the hardest time processing, because while I would like to maybe say I'm alone, unfortunately, I know that there is a good majority of people that have this blanket of belief that says that's of the devil, that's of the devil, that's of the devil, that's of the devil, you know, and completely wipe out and discredit a lot of things, but especially Halloween. So like, I find it very interesting, like the connections to the Catholic religion, you know, and I know we talked a little bit about, like, you know, some religions, you know, Christian belief systems do have a little more flexibility, you know, on, well, they believe this or that, but that is, it's very hard for me. Because I would like to say you have felt it too. And you know, there is this blanket of people that are very much so, this is wrong. And that's that. There's no, well, our culture, nope, of the devil. Well, it comes from, nope. Of the devil. And so.
Like Bobby Boucher's mom on Waterboy.
And
foosball the devil, son.
You know, and it's like that. And so it's like, I try to have an open mind, and I try to look at it in the sense of, like, even when we go back and talking about, you know, the king changing his religious perspective, who did that impact? That impacted like freaking everybody, you know, because he wanted this.
Yes.
And that's why I have such a hard time sometimes, because you got to think, I know in some of the episodes we've touched on this, I came from a very much, this is this, and everything else is wrong.
Yeah.
You don't question it. You don't learn it. You don't understand it. You just, and so I've felt like, and this is why, it's probably surprising, some of the stuff I've never heard of or don't know, because it's just like, nope, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, because I want to be a good person. That's wrong. I'm good. That's wrong, and that was just what was drilled in my head. And I mean, the only thing I've ever given any, recognition of is something at some point was said to me along the lines of a perspective of, we don't celebrate that because that's a demonic holiday of basically, you talk about trick or treat, in the sense of coming from a demonic perspective of, demons wanting to lure you into, Satan and deceive and all of that. There was definitely no Catholic origins, no this origins or that. It's just that's the devil's day, and that's it. That's all I know. So when you were like, let's talk about it, I'm like, we're going to talk about the devil's day. Okay. Oh. You know what I mean?
So tell me, you were telling me earlier today about how your family,
readjusting again, awkwardly, shaking the table. I'm not graceful.
How your family described to you what trick-or-treating was.
Yeah, it's like a demonic presence of trying to, deceive or lure you in. You think of bad guys and be like, come here, little children, I will give you the candy, sort of thing. And it's just, it was always presented of a very demonic.
So you were saying of how like the demon would disguise himself and come door to door.
Yeah. So, and I don't even know, where, I don't know where that came, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You said you never heard of it.
I've never heard of
I'm
it.
like,
Of all the things
I don't
that
know.
I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, I do know that before we got into the church, I have, a couple family pictures my grandmother took of me dressing up as a witch. It was always a witch. I once was a clown, but I don't know if that was a Halloween thing or because my grandmother used to, do different clown ministry type stuff. So I don't know if it was that or Halloween, but I do know the ones I do have, I was a witch. But this is my thing that my frustration, and this could be how you could tie this into Halloween. You could tie this into whatever, as it goes to the light or the dark sides or the origins of things. But in my spiritual journey, what baffles me is, and going to Halloween and touching on some of the stuff and witch and different stuff. So it's it baffles me where I grew up in a church, prophesying wasn't a big deal. It was just a regular every Sunday sort of thing. You're in the church, someone prophesies. The Lord has shown to me that prophecy. Okay. So, and that was oh gosh, that person, they're so connected to God, they're so this, but then it's you go outside of the church, and you start to say, the same blanket, and then all of a sudden what?
Yeah, it's your oh, well, that's obviously from the devil. And let's stop here.
And we're awkwardly pausing. So yeah, it's if it's in the church, it's of God. Mm-hmm. If it's not in the church, it's not of God. So I don't know. Crazy thought, but could it all just be that we're created of God? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is just, intuition or whatever, all the different things. That's just part of who we are created. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're over there trying to I'm going to destroy these people's lives, then maybe, yeah, you could be like, oh, that's probably not how, you should be using that, But it's but there's there's more times than not, people don't look at an in-between.
Yes.
It's in the church, okay, outside the church, psychic, witch, evil, the devil is talking to you, and
why is that? Because, not to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But because if it's through history, so I am huge on knowing history, knowing your history. Throughout history, what have we looked at? We have seen these leaders, whether they be kings, and I think I've even said this on past episodes, whether they be kings, royalty, popes, church leaders, etc., if they can't control their people, then they no longer have them under their thumb.
Yeah.
And so in order to control, they create these rules, these fears, these things I mean, okay, so even back to Samhain, so if you didn't attend, this is, we're talking ancient Samhain, and with the Druid priests and everything, it was believed if you did not attend that festival, you were then cursed with death, and you were going to die within that year. Yeah. And so again, it's that fear. So, and also, if you know your history, where you were saying, where you were just sort of kind of la, no, it's of the devil, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Because if you knew...
Oh, but it doesn't matter if you know, because they're wrong.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing. That is, no, it doesn't matter. They're wrong. And that's my problem.
Yes.
That is my problem. And it's going back to various examples too. It's and you talk about back then. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know you and I went to St. Augustine together and did the medical thing and everything. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. There's another perfect example. Yeah. You mess with herbs, and... in one scenario, you're a healer. Another sailor, witch, and you probably know more about this, but didn't the king even have his own healer or advisor that did those things?
A seer, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And that was okay.
Oh!
But yet, how many people died, outside of that?
Yes.
In different scenarios. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, speaking of witches and advisors and whatnot, there was the witch that is, I think I told you, did I tell you about this the other day? Mm. The witch that was mentioned in the Bible, the Witch of Endor.
Yeah, no, we didn't talk about that.
Okay, and she was, Saul contacted her in order to help him channel Solomon.
Yeah.
I believe. Or it was vice versa, Solomon. Yeah, it was Saul.
Because Mary Magdalene was also, I think, a seer.
Okay.
I think in the...
I don't know.
Or no, I have to remember.
I don't know.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Because I feel how do you get through, it's just hard. And I think the biggest lesson learning about this and talking about these things and this whole spiritual journey for me has been learning to accept myself.
Yeah.
And that is something I have not been able to do, because that's really hard to do when, so many things are said that scared you. And it's funny because meanwhile, while you're out, trick-or-treating and celebrating your Halloween, and I'm, protected from these demonic experiences, that are of the devil, meanwhile, and my brother could tell stories, we're being wakened up in the middle of the night because, mom is having groups of people over and performing deliverances where people are screaming in our house and,
having like an exorcism.
And like doing all these things. And, my brother tells a story where he sees like one person was like crawling on the ground and like all of these things that like, we grew up in. That was like, we were told horror stories all the time. Don't watch that TV show because a demon will come out of the television and possess you, and that happened. And don't touch that because that's of the devil. And this happens. It's like, oh my gosh, like the fear that was just drilled constantly. So surely, I'm like, I ain't touching Halloween. I mean, woo! That is some serious business I want nothing to do with, and then it's just eventually at some point in our life, and like I said, I don't choose not to celebrate. I'm just like not really into some of this stuff and never really, so I guess I didn't really think about it. And then here we are talking about it, and I know some things, but I think of everything. It's just, it amazes me the influence religiously on different, moments in life and history and each of us, and the unfortunate effects of, like I was getting at with that is how I can't get through to, I can sit down with, my mother and father and talk all day long about culture or history or this, that, and it doesn't matter because it's of the devil. There's no, and it's like, how do you, and so it's like that feeling of constantly feeling like, oh my gosh, like, at some point I have to say, it's okay that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And they have their belief system, and I have mine. And it's unfortunate that, having my belief system is that as much as I want to believe in God and different things, that my soul is apparently doomed to hell, and I am evil.
We can decorate hand baskets together.
Surprise! Evil, and all these things. So the hardest part of this is, finding and sorting through, stopping this, I want to be good, and saying, okay, tell me about Halloween. Tell me about, Saints Day, and tell me about these things. And I start to have to learn to trust myself, putting aside that judgment that has been so heavily put, on me, and say, okay, I acknowledge this or that, I see this or that, and coming up to my own conclusion. But it sucks sometimes. It sucks to be on the other side of that conversation feeling like no matter what you can say or do, you're going to be the bad person because of, you have intuitive, readings. You're a witch. You're consulting with the devil, and you're this and you're that. So
some of my favorite people are witches. So
so it's so hearing and my take on all this, like I said, I feel like I don't have much to interject, but it's unfortunately it comes back to, it's eye-opening. And I think that I wish there was a little less division and a little more understanding.
I think that would be beautiful all the way around. Everywhere. Yeah.
So
there's and that is, and it goes back to what we don't know we fear. And that is one of the basic human instincts, because fear has kept us alive for millennia.
Yeah. Well, it was like when you're fighting for your life, running, trying not to be, I know,
Eaten.
Human design, actually, the whole spleen center, it's 9 chakra systems. I know we talked about in the, one of the other, the spleen is your basic survival instinct, and it's fear or it's intuition. So it's like, it was meant for those times where we needed those things. But come on, guys, we don't need that.
Yeah.
We don't need that anymore. So it's like, do you plug in that fear, or do you plug into, a higher understanding or a knowing? And it's like not knowing, and it's just like that gut instinct of like, that's wrong, that's different, that's, fear it. It just sucks.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sorry.
No,
But
don't be sorry.
that-
It's eye-opening.
I think the most important thing, like you were saying, is that if whatever you take away out of this episode, whether it be
afraid of the Fae. They're tricksters.
They will snatch little Timmy up.
Snatch your children. Sorry, no, I'm sorry.
No.
That one stuck with me.
There's so much
gosh,
about that
wow.
too. That there's fairy children. Like there's some really fun, really cool things. But anyways, so whatever you take from this, please view it as an educational, because that's all we want to do is educate, right? And seriously, like. Knowing your history, if there's just something that I can just like ply and say again, is like, know your history. There's so much information. There's so much information out there of where we can obtain knowledge on anything. And now, granted, at that same time, there's a lot of misinformation out there and etc. And a lot of back and forth, because some of these traditions are thousands upon thousands years old. Yeah. And so,
it's just coming by from,
oral tradition, and then, finally written tradition. And so there's going to be, that wasn't quite. But from what we know as a whole.
Which just makes me feel like even more so we should be understanding and flexible.
Yes.
A little bit. Yeah.
And if you fear something, why? Why do you fear it? Like, go deeper. Like, go figure out why. But that's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard.
Education.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So, and that leading to say, knowledge is power, knowing about yourself. In our next episode.
I'm excited about that one.
Me too. We learn all about natal charts, and natal charts are sort of our blueprint of who we are.
Oh, yeah.
Very excited. So everyone have a wonderful, happy Halloween, All Saints Day, All Souls Day, I'm going to butcher it, Dia de los Muertos, and what else is there? Oh, of course, Samhain. So,
Bye-bye.
enjoy. Bye.